Welcome back to GH Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the issue shaking up Port Charles with deep emotion and unexpected twists, focusing on Willow and Drew's complicated journey. Willow and Drew seem to have found happiness together, a happiness that, despite being genuine and passionate, has been widely condemned by their community. Their love blossomed amid scandal, controversy, and disapproval, chiefly because Willow's choice to be with Drew was viewed as a betrayal toward Michael, her previous partner. Willow's relationship with Michael had been a beacon of hope for many in Port Charles, thus, her abrupt decision to abandon that bond and follow her heart to Drew sent shockwaves through their social circles, sparking resentment and judgment from nearly everyone around them. Willow, undeterred by the harsh criticism, steadfastly stood by Drew, believing wholeheartedly in their love. For a while, she truly believed Drew was the one destined for her, a soulmate who would cherish and protect her from the world's judgmental eyes. Unfortunately, Willow was living in illusion, blissfully ignorant of Drew's darker side, completely unaware of the unsettling secrets Drew was hiding. Among Drew's troubling secrets, the most shocking revelation was his intimate past with none other than Nina Reeves, Willow's biological mother. The fact that Drew had once shared a bed with Nina, the very woman from whom Willow had been tragically separated for much of her life, was a devastating truth Drew had kept deliberately hidden. Drew knew that if Willow ever discovered this truth, the consequences would be catastrophic. But as everyone in Port Charles is painfully aware, no secret remains buried forever. Indeed, this explosive secret eventually came to light. The discovery occurred unexpectedly, shattering Willow's idyllic world into 1,000 irreparable fragments. The betrayal cut deep, hurting her profoundly and leaving her emotionally crushed. Willow's trust in Drew, something she had fiercely defended against the harsh judgment of others, collapsed in a single, devastating moment. The revelation struck Willow at the core of her being, turning her love into an agonizing blend of confusion, anger, and heartbreak. Faced with Drew's betrayal, Willow felt utterly humiliated and deceived. The depth of Drew's dishonesty was unforgivable. Her dreams of a life built on trust and mutual respect vanished instantly, replaced by an overwhelming sense of betrayal and despair. Willow confronted Drew with an intensity that shook him to his core. Drew desperately pleaded for forgiveness, insisting that his past mistake with Nina had meant nothing, and his love for Willow remained genuine and unchanged. Yet Willow, her heart now barricaded by pain and mistrust, refused to hear Drew's desperate apologies. She saw Drew's lies not merely as an isolated mistake but as a profound reflection of his character, someone willing to manipulate the truth to serve his selfish desires. Unable to see past Drew's betrayal, Willow made the painful but resolute decision to end their relationship, believing she could never trust him again. Drew was devastated by her decision, begging Willow repeatedly to reconsider, but his pleas fell on deaf ears. Willow's faith in their love had vanished completely, leaving nothing but bitter disappointment. Just when Willow thought her situation couldn't become more complicated, life delivered yet another unexpected blow. She discovered she was pregnant. Willow was utterly stunned, her initial shock quickly replaced by confusion, panic, and profound fear. This pregnancy was an unforeseen complication in an already heartbreaking scenario. The revelation left Willow feeling trapped, unsure of how to proceed. The pregnancy presented an agonizing dilemma, as the child she now carried belonged to the man who had betrayed her trust in the worst possible way. For Willow, the options before her were emotionally devastating. On one hand, she considered quietly terminating the pregnancy, thinking this might spare her from further emotional turmoil. This option appealed to her because it meant she could avoid facing Drew again, preventing him from having any influence over her life. On the other hand, the thought of keeping the pregnancy secret filled Willow with guilt and anxiety, knowing that withholding this truth from Drew would make her just as dishonest as he had been. Moreover, Willow's deep moral values and maternal instincts made her hesitant to take such drastic action without Drew's knowledge. Yet confessing the pregnancy to Drew was no less daunting. Revealing the news meant reopening communication with the very person who had shattered her heart. Willow knew Drew would undoubtedly use the pregnancy as leverage to seek reconciliation. Drew, desperate to regain Willow's trust and affection, would interpret the baby as a sign that their connection was fated, meant to survive even the harshest of betrayals. The mere idea of dealing with Drew's renewed pleas, apologies, and attempts at reconciliation filled Willow with dread. She had fought so hard to sever ties with him, and the thought of once again being emotionally vulnerable terrified her. In her solitude, Willow grappled with the emotional torment that haunted her day and night. The weight of her decision began to affect every aspect of her life. She struggled to hide her distress from those around her, isolating herself to conceal the depth of her inner turmoil. Willow found herself constantly fluctuating between anger, grief, and an overwhelming sense of loss. She felt incredibly alone, unable to confide in anyone for fear of judgment, misunderstanding, or further heartache. Meanwhile, Drew was equally tormented by Willow's rejection. He became obsessed with winning back her forgiveness, refusing to accept the finality of their separation. Drew's love for Willow had always been intense, bordering on possessive at times, and the thought of losing her permanently drove him into desperation. He became relentless, persistently reaching out to Willow, sending messages, attempting calls, and trying everything in his power to mend what he had broken. Drew's inability to let go added tremendous pressure to Willow's already overwhelming burden. As Willow continued to wrestle with her decision, she began experiencing a range of conflicting emotions regarding Drew. Despite his betrayal, there were moments when Willow found herself reflecting on the good times they had shared, causing brief flashes of doubt to cloud her judgment. She wondered whether Drew's mistake truly defined him entirely or if it was possible for someone to make such a grave error yet still genuinely love another. But each moment of reflection ended bitterly, overwhelmed by the betrayal Drew had inflicted upon her. Willow knew her decision would affect more than just herself and Drew. The baby she carried was innocent, a symbol of both joy and pain, and her choice would shape this child's future in ways Willow could barely fathom. Her maternal instinct made it impossible to ignore the consequences her decision would have for the life growing within her. Each day, Willow's internal struggle intensified, torn between a desire to protect herself from further harm and a deep sense of responsibility toward the child she had not planned but now could not ignore. In the end, Willow realized she could not carry this burden alone forever. The pressure of making such a significant decision without Drew's input became unbearable. Despite the risk to her emotional well-being, Willow finally decided that Drew had the right to know about the pregnancy. She felt she owed it not only to Drew but also to the baby, who deserved both parents' acknowledgement of its existence, even if their relationship remained irrevocably damaged. When Willow finally shared her news with Drew, he was shocked, emotional, and overwhelmed by relief and joy. Drew immediately saw this as an opportunity to prove himself worthy of forgiveness, redemption, and perhaps even reconciliation. Drew begged Willow for another chance, pleading that their baby represented hope for a new beginning, a chance to heal the wounds they had inflicted upon each other. Willow listened, her heart aching as Drew spoke of the future they could still have together, a family united by love rather than divided by secrets. Despite Drew's emotional appeal, Willow remained cautious. While she acknowledged that their child deserved two parents committed to its welfare, she firmly insisted that forgiveness and reconciliation were separate matters entirely. Willow knew Drew's remorse was genuine, but the wound he had inflicted was deep, perhaps too deep ever to fully heal. She would take her time deciding whether Drew could re-enter her heart and life, even if he could never truly regain her trust. Now, Willow faces an uncertain future, carefully balancing her emotional needs, her child's best interests, and the complexity of her relationship with Drew. As the residents of Port Charles watch this dramatic chapter unfold, they wonder whether Willow will ultimately choose forgiveness and family or if her heartbreak will prevent any possibility of reconciliation. Next, we will learn about the tangled web of secrets, guilt, and unexpected family ties brewing in Port Charles as the nurses' ball approaches. A night that promises not just glitz and glamour, but potentially the most explosive revelations the Quartermaines have ever faced. The stage is set, Brooklyn and Joe's unknowing bond. As the city buzzes with anticipation for the nurses' ball, Brooklyn Quartermaine and Giovanni Gio Palmieri are immersed in late-night rehearsals, crafting a performance that's sure to dazzle. Their creative partnership is more than just a collaboration, there's an unspoken connection, a sense of familiarity that neither can quite explain. Brooklyn, ever the consummate performer, chalks it up to their shared passion for music, while Gio finds himself inexplicably drawn to her warmth and charisma. But beneath the surface, their bond is the result of a secret that has been carefully guarded for years. As the two grow closer, Lois Cerullo, Brooklyn's mother and one of the few keepers of the truth, watches with mounting guilt. Each shared laugh and every note played together is a painful reminder of the child Brooklyn gave up for adoption, a secret that could shatter their world if revealed. Lois Cerullo's guilt, the weight of hidden truths. Lois Cerullo's internal struggle intensifies as she observes the deepening relationship between her daughter and Gio. Memories of the painful decision to arrange a secret adoption haunt her, especially as she witnesses the natural rapport between Brooklyn and the young violinist. The guilt becomes nearly unbearable, and Lois finds herself on the verge of confessing everything, torn between protecting her daughter and giving her the chance to know the son she lost. The emotional stakes rise as the nurses' ball draws near. Will Lois finally break her silence, or will her resolve hold, keeping the truth buried beneath layers of well-intentioned lies? The possibility of a heart-wrenching family reunion looms, threatening to turn the annual celebration into a night of reckoning for the Quartermaines. Lulu Spencer's relentless investigation. Meanwhile, Lulu Spencer, recently awakened from a coma but as sharp as ever, has been piecing together clues that point to a shocking reality: Gio may be the very child Brooklyn gave up all those years ago. Her investigative instincts are in overdrive, fueled by a series of subtle hints and nervous exchanges she's witnessed between Lois and Brooklyn. Lulu's curiosity is piqued by Joe's vague stories about his early life and the uncanny resemblance he shares with Brooklyn. Her research leads her to old records from Brooklyn's time in California, where she discovers evidence of a hospital stay that aligns suspiciously with Joe's birth. The more she uncovers, the more convinced she becomes that the truth has been deliberately concealed. The confrontation, Lulu faces Lois. Unable to ignore the mounting evidence, Lulu confronts Lois with her findings. The confrontation is tense, with Lois initially denying everything, desperate to keep the secret safe. But Lulu, armed with facts and driven by a sense of justice for Dante Falconeri, Joe's biological father, presses on. The emotional weight of the moment forces Lois to break down and admit the truth, begging Lulu to keep the revelation to herself. Lulu is left with an agonizing decision: should she honor Lois's plea for silence or expose the secret, giving Dante and Brooklyn the chance to know their son? The ethical dilemma is compounded by her lingering feelings for Dante and her awareness of the potential fallout for everyone involved. The domino effect, family dynamics shift. As the secret teeters on the edge of exposure, the dynamics within the Quartermaine family begin to shift. Ned Quartermaine's protective demeanor toward Gio, Sonny Corinthos' unusual investment in Joe's music career, and the growing closeness between Brooklyn and Gio all become pieces of a puzzle that's about to be completed. Social media buzzes with theories, and fans are divided over whether Lulu should reveal what she knows or let the past remain buried. The potential for a dramatic family reunion at the nurses' ball is high. Will Brooklyn be devastated by the revelation, or will she find solace in finally knowing her son? How will Gio react to the news that his identity and family history are not what he believed? And what of Dante, who remains unaware that he has a child he never knew existed? Analysis: the emotional fallout and future implications. The imminent revelation of Joe's true parentage is more than just a plot twist, it's a catalyst for emotional upheaval and character development. Brooklyn, who has built her life around her music and her family, will be forced to confront the choices she made as a teenager and the impact of those decisions on her present. Gio, whose sense of self has always been tied to his adoptive family, must grapple with a new identity and the sudden appearance of biological relatives. Lois's role as both protector and deceiver adds layers of complexity to her character, highlighting the lengths a mother will go to shield her child from pain, even at the cost of her own conscience. Lulu's determination to uncover the truth, despite the personal risks, showcases her integrity and loyalty, but also sets the stage for potential heartbreak if her actions lead to unintended consequences. Invented elements and deeper insights. Imagine if, during the nurse's ball, a backstage mishap leads to the accidental discovery of a locket containing a baby photo, one that unmistakably links Gio to Brooklyn. The ensuing chaos could force the truth into the open in the most public way possible, leaving the Quartermaines to navigate a media frenzy alongside their private turmoil. Alternatively, Joe's musical performance could be interrupted by a heartfelt speech from Lois, who, unable to bear the guilt any longer, confesses everything to the stunned crowd. This act of bravery might pave the way for healing, but not before triggering a storm of emotions and difficult conversations about forgiveness, identity, and the meaning of family. Conclusion: the road ahead for Port Charles. As Port Charles braces for the nurse's ball, the stage is set for secrets to be unveiled and relationships to be tested. The revelation of Joe's true parentage promises to redefine the Quartermaine family and send shockwaves through the community. Whether the truth comes out in a blaze of public drama or in the quiet aftermath of a private confession, one thing is certain. The lives of Brooklyn, Gio, Lois, Lulu, and Dante will never be the same. Stay tuned to ABCGH Spoilers for more updates as this gripping storyline unfolds, and prepare for a night at the nurse's ball that Port Charles and its viewers will never forget.